Hi, tribe. Welcome back to Tales in Tarot. If you are tuning in for this segment and you have not seen the first two, please go back and check out the first video, which is indicated as one and then two, because it'll help you understand where we are in our story of the Fool and their journey through life and the 22 cards that come together that create the major arcana in tarot cards. So, to recap briefly, we talked in the last segment about how the Fool was in their chariot and they were definitely wanting to keep it upright and so that they can get further in life, but then also to have the strength that they need to get through the challenges, to have the courage to do well, the courage to say no to Starbucks so that we can save a little bit this week because we, all want that trip to Scotland. So it's the strength. So if we get going further with the Fool, um, the Fool may or may not have made some good choices. And maybe they didn't say no to Starbucks. Maybe they just kept buying Starbucks every day and not just like once a day, but like twice a day. And then maybe they went and they had lunch and they just weren't saving. Or maybe it could pertain to just anything else. It doesn't have to necessarily be money, it's the courage. So maybe things didn't go right, or maybe they did go right, but the Fool needs some time to think about it. And here is the Hermit. So the Hermit represents the Fool's time for introspection, to really think about why did my chariot like bust a wheel and tip over? Why was that romantic choice that I made just like all wrong for me? Why didn't I have the strength to work through my challenges? you know um was I really paying attention to things that I just weren't always aware of? And maybe I needed to be tuned in a little bit more. You know what? I'm going to just give myself some time to think about why and to reflect. That's the Hermit. So I know he looks kind of creepy, but he really, truly is not creepy. He is just the time or representative of the time that you need to like chill out and just think about things. So there is the Hermit. The next thing that happens for the Fool is the Wheel of Fortune. And the Wheel of Fortune, most folks, when they see this in a reading and in relationship to the 22 cards of the major arcana, they're excited because they're like, oh my gosh, this must mean that like I need like a lotto ticket, or I need to head down to the casino or something. It's a great card to have, but it's also reflective of a vision of how the world works. So you can see that, there's different things that are symbolic in there, and we could go into that further. But for right now, in the purposes that we're talking about the Fool's journey and the vision of how the world works. So now the Fool is like, aware of like, okay, the magician taught me to have awareness. I learned things from my earthly mother and my earthly father. I learned about nurturing environments and having structure. I learned some things at school. I learned that I don't want to bust a wheel on my chariot, and I need to like keep oil in my chariot and like, make good choices. And I also learned about challenges and having the courage to do well. Um, I've got a good idea now of how the world works and what that could mean for me. So there we go. That is the Wheel of Fortune. So now the next card that is the milestone for the Fool is Justice. And justice is how the Fool decides to like look back and to look at the cause and effect. Well, I did make some like repetitive, like bad choices when it came to love partners, or I made some really bad choices, through a lack of strength. Um, this is the cause and effect of choice that the Fool had. So we'll put justice right there, cause and effect. And you'll see the little scale of justice. Um, the next milestone that happens for the Fool is the Hanged Man. All right. So there is the Hanged Man. And what the Hanged Man represents is a relinquish over struggle to control. So struggling to try to get free, but yet that is getting tighter and tighter. What do I need to do? What do I need to do? Let me think about it. Let me be open and vulnerable to what needs to happen for me to continue to move forward. So that is the Hanged Man, relinquish over struggle to control. And it's a reminder or indicative of us to be open and vulnerable. So the next card after the Hangman that happens for the Fool is death. So I know most folks freak out anytime that they see death drawn on a card or on a reading, and I get it. I completely understand that. But death isn't necessarily a bad thing. So death is how the Fool puts an ending to things. It is what the Fool has outgrown. So the Fool has outgrown, bad choices, a lack of not being able to be open and vulnerable. Maybe the Fool just didn't have a good vision of like how things worked and how the world worked. Or, maybe the Fool just never took time to like sit one out and just go, wow, let me like put myself in time out and then really think about what I need to think about. So death is what Fool has outgrown. I've already learned how to do this. I have an idea. I've, have a good balance of consequence, cause and effect. It's everything that the Fool has outgrown. So now they're ready for the next segment on their journey. So stay tuned.